From the castle in Owings Mills, it is the Banner Ravens podcast. Paul Mancano, Jonas Shaffer, and Kyle Goon here to preview the Ravens' upcoming game against the New York Jets on Sunday. We're going to talk about the injuries that the Ravens are battling through this week, and we're going to talk about the offensive line, always a popular topic here in Baltimore. All that and much, much more, but first, a quick word from our sponsors.
For the fifth year in a row, Toyota is the best resale value brand according to Kelley Blue Book's KBB.com, including the 2025 Grand Highlander, best in resale value for midsize SUVs. Toyota, let's go places.
Looking for the ultimate game day spot? Head to Guinness, Baltimore. We've got fresh pints, the biggest screen south of the stadium, and the perfect place to cheer on the home team. Game time is Guinness time.
For the fifth year in a row, Toyota is the best resale value brand according to Kelley Blue Book's KBB.com, including the 2025 Grand Highlander, best in resale value for midsize SUVs. Toyota, let's go places.
Looking for the ultimate game day spot? Head to Guinness, Baltimore. We've got fresh pints, the biggest screen south of the stadium, and the perfect place to cheer on the home team. Game time is Guinness time.
All right, guys, we are here at the castle. It is a little chillier than we are used to. A little chilly in general. We're a little bit bundled up here outside. Jonas is probably feeling a little bit colder because he got a haircut, freshly shorn. So no more big beard, no more long hair to keep him warm. It looks terrific, though. If you're watching on X, Facebook, or YouTube, please tell him you think so, because I'm sure there are a lot of people that think that.
Are you saying leave a 5-star review for Jonas's grooming habits?
Yes. If you leave us a 5-star review, I'll read it out anyway, but I'll give it extra gusto if you include a note about Jonas's hair, because it looks terrific. Guys, we are here to talk about the New York Jets and the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday. We're here to talk about the offensive line and the struggles that they've had. But first, we have to talk about injuries, because yesterday Lamar Jackson was missing from practice with an ankle injury. He returned today. Jonas, before we even get into any of the other injuries, got to start with Lamar. We saw him miss one day last week. He missed one day this week. Hopefully that is all that he will miss this week. It just seems like his lower body is not 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a game of operation at this point. Just one body part each week. I guess we can still hit the calf. We can still hit the quads because we've done the hamstring, the knee.
I'd really
the
like
ankle.
to skip the calves. I think everyone would like to skip the calves.
Do you think
the implication of calf injuries these days?
Oh yeah, with Achilles.
Do you think Lamar buzzes when he gets hit like an operation machine? Or no?
I don't. Well, let's ask Myles Garrett. He would be the expert after sacking Lamar 4 times last week. Listen, I know Myles Garrett is absurd. We all know that. I mean, there was one rep where he just straight up crushed Ronnie Stanley and backed him right into Lamar.
He threw Roger Rosengard.
He threw Roger
like a rag doll.
So, yeah, it's like, hey, hope you enjoyed that jersey, buddy. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, we got.
Don't get ahead of yourself here.
The number one important thing for this franchise to do is protect Lamar Jackson, and it's just not happening.
We'll get there. We'll get there in just a bit. We have to real quick talk about the other injuries, because Kyle Hamilton was also missing from practice on Wednesday, as was Isaiah Likely, as was Roquan. Was Roquan missing yesterday as well?
Yes.
Yep. With a hamstring injury, Likely with a calf, Hamilton with a shoulder/groin, Ronnie Stanley with illness, Andrew Voorhees with a foot. But all 5 of those guys, Kyle Hamilton, Isaiah Likely, Roquan Smith, Ronnie Stanley, Andrew Voorhees, did return to practice. We don't have their designations yet, so we don't know if they are returning as full participants or limited participants. Still missing from practice, 2 guys that missed on Wednesday as well. Wide receiver Shad Bateman, who obviously missed last week's game with an ankle injury, and Keon Martin, who has a rib injury after he did not take the team flight home back from Cleveland. So that's the state of things. Hopefully the Ravens can get a little bit healthier and get some of those guys back as they head into Sunday's game. Let's talk about the offensive line. Kyle, you just teased a great conversation here. John Harbaugh has been asked a lot about the offensive line. We've been talking a lot about the offensive line here on this show all season long. It has been the talk of Baltimore all season, and it just simply won't go away until these issues get resolved. John Harbaugh still, though, is sticking with the same group. He insists that the best 5 players are the ones who are starting on Sundays. He said the offensive line is playing, quote, pretty darn good. None of this is going to matter because we're not the ones who are making the decisions. And it's clear that nothing we say or nothing that's said on the outside is going to move John Harbaugh off of his process. But, Kyle, what do you think of this offensive line right now?
Well, I think it's not very darn good.
Pretty darn good.
Listen, I think the messaging has been sent by John. This is not my fault. These are just my ingredients. I think he's shifting some of the blame to the linemen he was given. And I've been surprised for sure. I mean, I was like, okay, the guard position is weak, but I didn't think it would be crippling. But I think the way that the line is developed, Ronnie's obviously banged up. Roger Rosengarten hasn't taken that sort of sophomore step forward. Voorhees is weak. Falele has, I feel pretty comfortable saying. And Tyler Linderbaum, I think, just has a little bit too much to do. That combo has really failed for the Ravens. And I think John's messaging here is that it's not going to change because we don't have better guys. We don't have healthier guys. We don't have better guys. And this is what it is. So when we talk about how is it going to improve, I don't think anyone has a plan for that.
Jonas, Lamar has been sacked 23 times this season, despite playing 7 games. He was sacked 23 times all of last season. His sack percentage is 11.8%, which would be a career high by far. He's never even gotten to 10% in terms of sack percentage. You did a film study that people can read on thebanner.com, or they can subscribe $1 for 6 months, particularly about the offensive line's struggles in the red zone, not just in protecting the quarterback, but also in the run game. What did you learn, and what stood out to you from that?
I mean, I don't think I learned anything. Just had notions confirmed. Just the fact that they aren't good in the red zone, and a lot of that stems with what they do with their front 5, front 6. Whoever is actually in there blocking. And I think probably a big source of frustration for Ravens fans is that they want the kind of messaging that none other than Tyler Linderbaum delivered yesterday in the locker room. Like he said, I think the number one thing, you have to be successful in the red zone. You have to be able to run the football effectively, which I don't think we have been able to do. So that starts with us, the O-line. And I think there's just wondering if Tyler Linderbaum can deliver this tough love approach, then why can't John Harbaugh? I mean, all these guys are, subject to scrutiny, whether it's through social media, through media, through social media, through like talking to us, through the coaches who coach them up. And they're just not, it's not like them being criticized should be anything new to them. This is something that they dealt with last year. This is something that they've probably dealt with throughout their entire career. There's a lot of bad offensive line play in the NFL. And just, as Kyle said, you need to protect. You need to make good on your investments in Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry's been hit like at the line of scrimmage or behind, I think, on over 2/3 of his carries in the red zone this season, which is just incredible. Like, how do you expect a guy like that, whose entire game is premised on building up steam, to build up any steam when he's getting hit right as he's crossing the line of scrimmage? So I don't know what to do. I don't know what they can do. It's clear that Ben Cleveland is an option. Corey Bullock is probably best served as a center, and they already have a pretty good center in Tyler Linderbaum. We're still waiting to see exactly what the timetable for Emory Jones getting onto the field is. John Harbaugh talked to us yesterday and said he thinks that he can be a contributor this year, but again, he's not going to poo-poo his development. So whether he's actually going to be a real asset to this group moving forward and a change of pace for Voorhees or Falele still remains to be determined, but we have 7+ weeks to see if there's something.
Can I just ask a question? And I don't expect an answer from either of you two. Why is Ben Cleveland on this team? Why is Ben Cleveland on this team? I don't think the Ravens want to play him. I don't think if he was a realistic option, he would have played by now. He had a DUI in the offseason. They signed him back. Why is he on this team?
We asked this question last year, and last year it was, okay, well, he's still under contract on his rookie deal. And then they brought him back.
Brought him back. But they're not going to play him. And so it's not depth if you're not going to play the guy, if he's not a realistic option to challenge for a starting guard spot. Why is he there? Is it just in case like Andrew Voorhees or Daniel Falele fall down some stairs? Like, why is he here? It's like if the only reason to bring him back, if you know he's disappointing, is thinking he can challenge for one of these spots. And the fact that he hasn't challenged for one of these spots is just absolutely damning for this franchise and the decision to bring Ben Cleveland back. I do not understand it.
Yeah, and the Ravens obviously spent 2 draft picks within the first 5 rounds on the offensive line. One is Emory Jones Jr., who has been missed 6 months before he finally was able to make his return to practice, and still just a 3rd-round rookie. And Carson Vincent, who they knew from day one was going to be a project. It is promising that he was active ahead of Joe Noteboom, but I'm not sure that the Ravens would consider him anywhere close to starting along this offensive line, and he's still a tackle, and unless Ronnie Stanley gets hurt, they're not going to take Ronnie Stanley out, and unless Roger Rosengarten gets hurt, they're not going to replace their last year's 2nd-round pick. So it's really the guard spots, and Tyler Linderbaum had his struggles early in the season. PFF loves him now. He's up to number 4 as a center in football. You can't say the same for Andrew Voorhees, who's the number 43 guard in football, and you can't say the same for Daniel Falele, who is the number 57 guard, according to PFF. 3 spots ahead of, by the way, Patrick McCary. This was an issue last year. The Ravens seem to have, for the last 6 or so games of the regular season last year, seem to have fixed that issue. It's continuing to be an issue. And the issues in the trenches along defensive line, you can see some promise there. You know, they add Draymond Jones. They are trying new things. They're not trying anything new on offense. It seems to be their plan to cross their fingers and just hope that these guys get better.
I mean, I think the interesting thing about this, you know, obviously we expected that with the continuity on the offensive line, the young guys growing older, getting stronger, having another year under this staff, that there would be a step forward. But it is interesting, I think, just like how much of the outcome has colored the criticism of the process through all this. Like looking at the stats for Lamar Jackson from last year, I think he was getting hit on a per game basis more than he has this year. But what we saw from last year was like one of the best seasons ever under pressure. And we're not seeing that from Lamar clearly this year.
His sack rate last year was like 4%. It was a career low.
Yeah. You know, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at limiting pressures that turned into sacks. This year, he is, you know, near the bottom third. And so, you know, because of what last year's offense did and how historically impressive it was, you know, you could hand wave away a lot of this and just say, like, the cost of doing business is having this offensive line that could be a little bit fragile. And now that we've seen so many guys take even the slightest step backs, everything has gotten magnified on this very obviously deficient offensive line. And this shouldn't be any solace to Ravens fans. But when we were talking about just preparing for this podcast, I kind of was thinking about the Tolstoy quote about how, like, you know, every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Like
This guy's bringing out Tolstoy.
I've never read it. I just familiar with the quote. Like every unproductive or struggling offense is unhappy in the same way, which is like they don't like their offensive line. You think of the Chargers and what Justin Herbert has been through there. You think of the Chiefs and just some of the ups and downs that they've had. They're still like a top 3, top 5 offense in the NFL despite what they've gone through. And I just, you know, it shouldn't be any kind of comfort. You look at, you know, the Brandon Thorne rankings, the PFF rankings. The Ravens are not a bottom of the barrel offensive line by these people who, you know, at least in Brandon Thorne's case, really know what they're talking about. But that still doesn't take away any of the awfulness that we've seen.
I just want to make 2 notes about PFF grades, and I probably rely on those too much a little bit on some of my assessments. But at the same time, if you look at the actual grades for the tackles and the guards, like so Daniel Falele and Andrew Voorhees are sort of middle of the pack, you know, bottom middle for the guards, but the overall guard grades are a lot lower on run blocking and pass blocking than the tackle grades, which makes sense, right? Tackles are generally the more athletic group, the sort of sturdier athletes. So guard play is, according to at least one of these big league rankings, down compared to tackle play. 2, you bring up Tyler Linderbaum, and, you know, obviously he's had a rough start, PFF still doesn't love his passing grade. I believe his run grade is like 85, which is really, really good. One of the best in the NFL. And I think when you look at the problems that they're having with Derrick Henry getting him going, some of that can be chalked up to mobility. And Tyler Linderbaum is more the solution than the problem. It's those other two guys on either side of him in Voorhees and Falele that just can't shift over as quick, can't get to the second level as quick, can't get to the linebacker in time. And so Tyler Linderbaum in the middle, I mean, the Ravens ask him to do so much in the run blocking scheme, and he's kind of doing his job. And I think, obviously these things are multifaceted, which I think Jonas pointed out well in his Red Zone article, but it's just, especially when it comes to the run game, which is the foundation of everything the Ravens do. They've been a top 5 rushing offense for, I don't know, 6-7 straight years or whatever it is. That's the big problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just something that I think we talked about as early as the preseason is just the idea that you are, just because you have a lot of guys that you think will be good offensive linemen does not mean that you are optimizing their fit. Like Tyler Linderbaum coming out of Iowa was, I think, PFF's highest graded lineman ever in run blocking schemes. And because he's playing next to a 6'7", 350-pound Colossus who does not move well, does not move like, those kind of smaller Iowa linemen did, you're undercutting what Tyler Linderbaum can do. And obviously the Ravens have built this offense on being able to do a lot of things, whether it's gap schemes, zone schemes, pitch plays, whatever. But it just, for me, it comes back to like you have some very, very obvious physical talents along this offensive line. Roger Rosengarten ran like a sub-5 40-yard dash. Ronnie Stanley, when that ankle is healthy, can really move. Andrew Voorhees is a fine athlete. Tyler Linderbaum, one of the best movers in space in the NFL. But because you have certain body types along this line, it doesn't behoove you to be not even a master of all trades, just like focus on one thing, I think. And then this offense could have had a real foundation for success in the way that, like the best rushing offenses do.
Yeah, and I think all of these problems are exacerbated by the fact that Lamar is not running as much as he has. And that could be a chicken or an egg conversation, because it could be maybe he's not running as much because he's getting hit more, and because he's not as sure about his lower body, and because there are fewer lanes for him to run. But if he's, if he's hobbled, if he's not 100%, his ankle today was spatted. Is that our word of the day, Jonas?
Sure.
What does that mean?
It means basically just have the ankle wrapped up in wrapped up in tape, to provide some kind of security.
Why can't you just say taped?
Spatted is
because spatted is the fashion.
It's just like just jumbling the letters around. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, that's all we're doing.
Can't tell
what numbers
spell taped without spatted.
Look, there's no e. Oh, I guess there is an e. Spatted. Yeah.
Last time we had Kyle on the podcast, we tried to do a blame pie exercise, and Jonas just couldn't handle the fractions. So we're going back to his bread and butter, which is words over numbers.
I love words. I use them so often.
Basically, Lamar is not running. He's running at a career low. I mean, he's averaging 32.3 rushing yards per game, which would be by far the lowest. And so you're just not seeing the kind of danger on the ground, the kind of, two-pronged attack between Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson that you've seen in the past. And so when the offensive line has to run block for Derrick Henry without as much of a threat from Lamar Jackson, and they can't do it, that's a problem. And you see so many viral clips on Twitter. At least my feed is mostly filled with them, of people just filming their TVs and seeing Daniel Falele in the wrong spot, Roger Rosengarten getting beaten. And I think it's perhaps a little bit unfair, but at the same time, you're just not seeing the statistical improvements from this run game to back any of that up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't know what the kind of coaching keys are for certain plays. We don't know how guys are feeling. We don't know what we're looking at 90% of the time. But like in looking back at the red zone snaps from Sunday's game, there was one play that stuck out to me as kind of me questioning where exactly Lamar was thinking that he was going to go with the ball. Like I think they're in the low red zone. They're in the shotgun. Derrick Henry's next to him. They call it read option play. And, on a read option play, you have that unblocked edge defender who's going to be the guide for you to whether you hand the ball off or keep it yourself. If the guy crashes down on the ball carrier at the mesh point, then you keep it for yourself and you go around. And it's Myles Garrett, I think, who is charging into the backfield, and Lamar should be seeing him, and Lamar still hands it off to Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry is thrown for a 3-yard loss. And, there were blockers out in space that Lamar could have gone to. I don't know if he would have gone for a touchdown. I don't know if he would have been for a 2-yard gain, but it's 2-yard gain is better than a 3-yard loss. And, Lamar's number of design runs has just fallen precipitously. And, surely some of that has been because of the injuries and stuff that he's gone through. But I don't know. I just keep coming back to like his kind of reminiscence on that AFC Championship game against the Chiefs when he was talking to the Washington Post for a profile after that season, where he felt like he just wasn't in a state physically to do the kind of things that he needed to do. And if he's feeling like that again, and we're just kind of projecting our own biases and notions onto him, then for me, it's hard to feel optimistic about like Lamar having the confidence to put on the Superman cape and lift this offense to the heights that it did last year.
Yeah, and I was going to speak to that. And again, I mean, so much of what happens in Lamar's own mind is a mystery. But I think, because we do a lot of slow-mo replay, here's what this decision was. I think we, as the general fan, underestimate how quickly these things happen and how much instinct is sort of a guide for, especially in like an RPO. It's like, okay, like I'm not feeling it. I don't see it. Hand off. Like these things happen so quick. And the thing I wonder about Lamar's sort of mindset is if that leg is not right and whatever, whether it's hamstring, knee, ankle, whatever, next week it'll be abductor, adductor, or whatever. Right? Yeah, we're gonna go through the whole leg.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes,
right?
and toes, adductor.
But I think if the impulses have changed and he's making some of these shorter decisions with a different sort of mindset of like, get rid of it, hand off, throw, can't scramble, whatever. It's like some of these things pass so quickly that like that affects his play a whole lot, and it might affect some of the accuracy things that Jonas also wrote about, sort of his throws not under pressure, which haven't been all that great this year compared to last. So it's just, I think there's a lot that goes into it, but at the same time, I don't know. I might be crazy. I wrote in a roundtable today. I've had my doubts about Lamar before around this time of the season, and he always seems to kind of put on the cape at the end. And I know, there's obviously some concerning trends about how he's running or not running this year, but I just feel that Lamar, certainly in the regular season, does show up and has a tendency to really elevate as the season gets to this point.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like doom and gloomers here, because this team is still 5-5. They have a chance to get very good chance to get to 6-5 as they face the 2-8 Jets.
83% of winning the division right now at 5-5. I mean, what a weird. I mean, it's been like that all season. I mean, they still had a good chance of winning the AFC North when they were 1-5, but what a weird season it is in the AFC North.
Before we segue into the Jets preview, just put this in the outline just as a kind of capper to this discussion. Over the next 7 weeks, for whatever value set of values you have, which do you feel more confident in, this Ravens offense or this Ravens defense?
I feel more confident in the defense right now, which is crazy to say, because you look at the way that they played the first 5 games of the season, first 6 games of the season, and it was incredibly poor. But all of the indicators are that they are pointed upwards. They have Alohi Gilman seems to have re-unlocked Kyle Hamilton. Draymond Jones is providing a little bit of juice in the pass rush. Should be getting Tavius Robinson back at some point. It seems like they have figured things out to a large extent on that side of the ball. I still think an elite quarterback would be able to rip them apart, and they in ways that a lot of these subpar quarterbacks that they faced over the last several weeks have not been able to. But personally, I stand on the defensive side. Kyle?
Yeah, I'm there too, and I've been surprised at the level to which Alohi Gilman has affected the entire alignment. But the thing that I feel like is happening on defense is now wherever Kyle Hamilton lines up, the defense has to be like, okay, we're going to try to avoid that guy. And once you kind of enter that salad spinner, like that's kind of a problem. You're sort of closing off parts of the field or or closing off options on the field because you know Kyle Hamilton could blitz. Kyle Hamilton is going to cover our tight end. Kyle Hamilton is going to cover our slot guy. And he is the answer for somehow all those things. So I think now that they have sort of unlocked him, they have made him sort of the fear factor option. You have other ways to compensate when you put Kyle in a certain spot, and then you have enough guys around him, especially in the secondary, to make something interesting happen on defense. So I agree right now.
Yeah. All right, Jonas, offense or defense?
I guess marginally defense. I'm just still putting up a big old wad of caution tape around this sample size. Just like the quarterbacks that they have played.
Yeah, the sample
Over
size.
It's been a
competition.
generationally bad run of quarterbacks. I did mention that in the
here comes
Slack on
Tyrod
Sunday.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here comes Tyrod
Listen,
Taylor.
Don't slander Tyrod Taylor that way. This
He's-
is a lot.
he's
I mean, he's not quite Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he's kind of like the backup of our times.
I
in a
know, but
way.
he's also QB2 to Justin Fields, who is averaging under 100 yards passing per game.
Yeah, pretty poor.
He won. He won out eventually.
He did. Is Tyrod Taylor in the progressive backup quarterback commercials that Tyler Huntley is in? I haven't seen him yet.
I gotta say, I really like the Tyler Huntley progressive commercial. I
It's
laughed
grown
a
on
lot
me.
for that one.
It's grown on me. We'll see if you're watching the game at home. Let us know if you see a new Tyrod Taylor appearance in those commercials. Let's talk about this game in which the Ravens are favored by a whopping 13.5 points. These two teams, the Jets and the Ravens, haven't met since week 1 of the 2022 season, when they also faced a former Ravens quarterback. That was a Joe Flacco game in which he had 59 pass attempts. Ravens won that game 24-9, by the way. This Jets team, of course, faces a different former Ravens quarterback in Tyrod Taylor, former 6th-round pick, who was given the job this week, according to first-year head coach Aaron Glenn, because he felt like it. Interesting response there. Jonas, when you watch this Jets offense with Justin Fields, with the 3 games that we've seen Tyrod Taylor play, what do you see? What is bad? Is there anything good?
Not a whole lot. I think that they like their tackles. Olu Fashanu, left tackle, 1st-round pick last year. Right tackle Armand Membu out of Missouri has come in and done a really good job. But again, just to kind of circle back to the discussion about Ravens fans having misgivings about the investments in this offensive line. Like, the Jets have poured a lot of resources into that front 5, and it just hasn't paid off. I remember seeing some Jets reporters on Twitter saying that after they drafted Membu, like, there was no excuse for this group not being a top 5 group, because they had Josh Myers, Joe Tittman, both 2nd-round picks in recent years. You know, John Simpson was coming off a really, really nice year, obviously a former Raven for them. He's in the final year of his 2-year, $12 million deal. And yet you look at the PFF rankings, and they are bottom 3rd. They're 24th best offensive line in the NFL right now, and haven't done a whole lot to protect Justin Fields. We'll see what they can do to protect Tyrod Taylor, but there's just not a whole lot to write home about with this group. Like, Breece Hall should be doing better than he is. They won't have Garrett Wilson because he's on IR. You're starting Tyrod Taylor for just the 2nd time this year. You're already 27th in DVOA. It's a very, very Jetsy situation in Jets land.
Yeah. And on the other side of the ball, not a whole lot better, if better at all. Obviously, they trade Sauce Gardner to the Colts back at the trade deadline. They trade Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys. Those were probably their 2 best defensive players. They're 30th in defensive DVO so far this season. Jonas, is there any semblance of the old Jets defense that performed well over the last, 2-3 seasons?
I mean, not really. Brandon Stevens is having a nice year.
Yeah, how about him?
We should shout him out.
PFF's number 12 cornerback.
He allowed 800 yards in Baltimore last year. So far, just 290 through 10 games. Again, the hope with the Jets was they have so much talent, so much proven talent, so much rising talent that up front you thought they would do better, but they haven't. Will McDonald was having a nice year, 7 sacks. Jermaine Johnson was a guy who was connected to the Ravens, but he has just 3 as another edge rusher there. They held the Patriots to 65 yards rushing in their last game, but Drake May still went off. So it's just a surprisingly awful defense considering Aaron Glenn's reputation coming over from Detroit. Do you want to take a guess at how many interceptions they have this year?
Weren't they like the last team to get an interception?
They still do not have an interception, Paul.
That's insane.
0?
18 touchdowns allowed, 0 interceptions, just 18 sacks, 16% pressure rate, 3rd lowest. The number 31 team in the NFL in terms of turnover rate is 5.1%, which means you're getting a turnover on about 1 of every 20 possessions. The Jets are 0.9%.
How are the Ravens going to figure out a way to give these guys a turnover this weekend? That's on my. Also, how did you give Jonas the Jets defense and deny me my chance to say, "Wow, they lost the sauce"?
Exactly.
Really
That's
upset,
exactly why
actually.
I didn't say that. I was watching the Browns game, and at the very end of the game, when when Cheeto Bayawuzi breaks up that pass in the end zone, and I thought, did Brandon Stevens do that once at all in 2024? Sorry, Brandon Stevens, but
no.
Is Cheeto Bayawuzi the anti Brandon Stevens? I mean, he's been getting his hands on the ball. He's been turning around. It's just something we didn't see at all from Brandon Stevens.
Yeah, I mean, they paid him a surprising amount of money, and it's surprisingly
like a 3-year deal.
Pretty well.
Yeah,
I think over $10 million per.
He is the highest coverage grade among the cornerbacks right now.
That's crazy, but it's just a matter of actually breaking up the passes that are in front of him. The special teams for the Jets is the one unit, Jonas, that is actually pretty good. Not only are they pretty good, they're first in DVOA. Why is the Jets special team so good?
Because they're good. I haven't spent a lot of time watching.
You didn't grind the tape on the Jets special teams?
That Jets special teams are the only reason that they beat the Browns a couple weeks ago. I think they had 2 touchdowns within like a 40-second span.
It was a punt
return
touchdown, kickoff touchdown.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If this game comes down to special teams, then God help us all. That's all I'll say.
I was just saying the Ravens should be most thankful this year. Thanksgiving next week, ladies and gentlemen. Be most thankful for this stretch of the schedule, which is absolutely dog turd. Like, holy cow. I can't believe how bad this stretch of the schedule is. It's just like we were looking at 1 and 5, and everyone here, it was sort of like, probably get to 500 again, right? Yeah. They'll probably get to 500.
Ruin my 10% playoff odds for the Ravens that we gave on our Ravens roundtable like six weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, like even peeking ahead a couple days ago at the week 13 lines. So for Ravens Bengals, and again, this may change if Burrow comes back or if Burrow plays this weekend and looks good. But I think the Ravens were double-digit favorites in that. So
yeah. Just take care of business, though. We've said it before. Can't look too far ahead because the Ravens still need to win this game, not because their playoff odds will jump dramatically if they win. According to the New York Times playoff picture, their AFC North title odds go from about 81% to 83% if they win this game. So not a huge increase, but if they lose this game, it goes from about 81% to 69%. So you couple that with the Steelers playing the Bears, and there's some variance here. And the Ravens playing 2 games.
The Steelers
in 5 days.
Playing the Bears with likely Mason Rudolph. So that I mean that 83% could jump. Like it could jump a lot. And I really think I maintain if you're the Ravens, you want to avoid at all costs having to win the division in the last 2 weeks. You have that end of December game again at Green Bay, which is going to be tough either way. And then you have the last game of the season at Pittsburgh. If you're the Ravens and you have to win at Pittsburgh for the division, I mean, doesn't everyone here get PTSD watching the Ravens in Pittsburgh over the last few years? I mean, they just really, really struggle to win there. It will be like the Browns just now times 2. Like, and Pittsburgh actually has a somewhat respectable team as compared to the Browns. So I really think the Ravens got to do all they can against these trash can opponents to make sure that they seal the AFC North now and make sure they're not playing for the division in the last week of the season.
Yeah. All right. Let's get our predictions here. Jonas, what's your score prediction for Sunday?
I am a little bit miffed about this just because of the Lamar of it all. But I'm going with 27 Ravens, Jets 10. Just hard for me to see a way that the Jets are competitive with this, with their defense being as leaky as it is, with Tyrod Taylor, obviously his familiarity with Baltimore, but I just don't think that there are any kind of the amount of weaponry that he has is not really enough to threaten this Ravens team. Maybe the Jets get something going with the ground game that really opens things up downfield, but it's just it's hard for me, even if Lamar gives a D- game, to imagine the Ravens losing this one.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor making his second career start against the team that drafted him. The last one was in 2016. Huge shout out to Tyrod Taylor for being able to make it this far in the league. I also have the Ravens winning this game 27-14, so right around the line there. But I think that Tyrod Taylor brings at least a little bit more to this offense on New York side than Justin Fields did.
Yeah. I guess 31-13. I actually think Tyrod Taylor gives them a little more juice, and there's that effect of like, okay, we've been grinding down with Justin Fields, who in 1 week he had like single digit passing yards for like the long or like
Broncos game.
zero passing yards, some negative. It was weird, but like there's always a boost that comes from, okay, like we tried this, we got a new guy. Tyrod Taylor has been in this league for a long time. I think he will have somewhat of a rallying effect. That being said, I mean, it's just the talent deficit is just huge. And I think sort of like this last game, like the Jets will need a plus turnover margin to win.
Probably a special team score.
And we just talked about how they don't get any turnovers.
Yeah,
so it's
true.
like, I don't know. I mean, maybe Brandon Stevens surprises us all and gets the first turnover of the season, but I kind of doubt it. So.
Brandon Stevens listening to this and he's going to turn into the ball hawk.
You know what? Okay. Actually, I'll take this back. I really like Brandon Stevens as a locker room guy. I voted for him on the media award last year because he had a terrible season and he faced the music every week. So Brandon Stevens, good luck to you, sir. You are a gentleman, but maybe not the best cornerback.
That's
sorry.
fair. All right. We have plenty of coverage on this game on thebanner.com where you can subscribe $1 for 6 months.
Shout out to the Banner.
Jonas is writing great stuff. Kyle's writing great stuff. Gianna Han is writing great stuff. So much more ahead of Sunday's game. And Jonas and I will be back with you from M&T Bank Stadium after that game as well. For Jonas Shaffer and Kyle Goon, I'm Paul Mancano.
Bundle up this weekend.
It's going to be chilly.